Ho ho, no, that is not. Alright, so let me just go to my watch later and watch videos in my watch later. Cryptocurrency first. Actually, no.
Penny saving.
It's just me. Alright.
Difficult. Because I remember up until I did it, I don't remember that initial, like, I don't remember putting it in. I just remember doing it, blanking out, and then sitting on my bed, and it was in, and I was just bleeding. I was bleeding everywhere. I had to take another break. I'm just a little bit like reliving this is just, because to the people I have been close enough to tell this story to, I just kind of gloss over it. I've never really stopped and tried to really hash it out and think about it.
I'm gonna go refill this because this barely has anything, as you can see. We'll see. Yeah. I'm gonna go refill this, excuse me.
And it's painful. It's painful, but again, like, it's just a really weird feeling and feeling anxiety. But anyway, I was bleeding badly. I've got a lot of little tiny veins in the hand, and I think an artery or a large vein that runs through the side of your arm. And I realized, like, I need to go to the hospital. Like, I kind of, like, came to, I need to go to the hospital, and I kept thinking that, but I was too afraid to, call my dad or somebody close to me to take me. So I took the bag out and I bound my hand. I got in my car and I drove to the hospital, which was a moronic idea. Such a stupid, stupid idea. Don't, any of you listening here, if you've got a serious wound or you may possibly be under the influence of something, do not get behind the wheel. At that point, I had come down, I had kind of come to, but regardless of anything, I was bleeding like crazy. It was so moronic of me to get behind the wheel. I had bled through. my bandages and my paper towels, and I had to use my jacket to, one, hold my actual like skin closed so it wouldn't tear any farther, and make sure that I wasn't bleeding all over my car, which didn't work. I still bled all over my car and the steering wheel and my clothes. And of course, since it's an American hospital, I had to wait an hour before I could be seen by the doctor to get stitched up. In the meantime, they did bandage me and put me in one of those like sterile holding rooms. So I was still bleeding, but just into proper hospital gauze, opposed to my Hello Kitty jacket and my brawny paper towels. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, Emily Artful does use humor to cope with traumatic experiences. What was funny when I was being seen by the person who was stitching me up, who I think was a doctor, but I'm not 100% sure, might have also been an intern, the first nurse that was attending to me just said to him, I think we could get this closed with some glue, like medical grade super glue essentially. And the doctor just gave her this side eye like, do you see this? But at the time, I had heard that if you use the medical grade super glue instead of stitches, you show less of a scar, which I'm 100% sure now, because I have other like stitch scars opposed to glued scars, is probably a huge, huge, huge myth, and it's probably on a case-by-case basis, because this is like the biggest, ugliest scar that I have. And I have a huge 5.5-inch long scar on my right hand elbow from when I shattered my ulna when I was a kid, like a surgery scar that had been stitched up, and it looks way more put together than the one on my hand. The one on my hand just looks like a mouth. Feed, Miss Seymour. So I asked the doctor if it might be possible to close the scar with the glue, and he's like, we could try. There is a chance that it would open back up again, but I really would just recommend getting the stitches now and getting it over with. But of course, my dumb ass insisted to use the glue, and in retrospect, I'm like, you should have just asked if the scar will be a little bit more neat if it was stitched or if it was glued. But I didn't. I just wanted to get it closed up, and I wanted to leave, and I wasn't thinking, and hindsight is 20/20. So because I wasn't getting stitches, he had the nurse glue me shut, and then she ended up sitting there holding my skin together for like 20 minutes. We kind of talked about each other's lives, and then she asked me, how did I get a cut this deep while running with scissors? She just didn't understand the logistics of it, and I kind of panicked a little bit. I didn't tell them how I actually got the scar for 2 reasons. One, I was afraid they were going to call the police because I was using drugs, but I found out because of the HIPAA Act, they can't actually do that unless you bring drugs onto the premises. And 2, I was worried that because the wound was self-inflicted, that they would put me on what's called a 5150 hold, which is basically where they hold you for 72 hours to undergo psychiatric evaluation. And I was running around on the streets doing drugs and doing what I wanted and sleeping on friends' couches and being homeless, so that was going to interrupt that very, very important busy lifestyle. I had had experience staying in that particular medical network's mental institution before, and I had a very unpleasant experience. I was sexually assaulted, and it was an absolute nightmare. An absolute nightmare, and I was not ready to relive that. And I can't even get into that because I was already starting to feel relieved, and then even thinking about that just stresses me out again, and yeah. So I didn't tell them, and she asked me how it was possible that this could happen, and I don't really remember how I explained it. Some cockamamie thing about the scissors flying in the air, and then I caught them. I don't really remember. I just kind of remember showing her a diagram with my pointer finger and my thumb being pretending my thumb was stuck in my arm, and showing her that's what it looked like, and she kind of bought it. I don't think she was allowed to press any farther. I think they basically are supposed to take your reasoning, what you put down at face value, and call it a day. I'm really not exactly sure how that all ended up working out, but I think deep down the nurse knew that it was a self-inflicted wound. I just don't think she knew exactly why it was self-inflicted. If any doctors or nurses or hospital workers knows the protocol for something like that, will you let us know in the comments down below so I can pin your comment and everybody can know what goes on? Because I'm actually really curious now. I'm really curious about that. I'm sure I'm not the only one. But yeah, so we glued it shut. I went on with my life for about a day, and then the glue didn't hold and the wound partially popped back open. Now, the wound is...
Excuse me? I'm back,
started to
motherfuckers.
heal
I'm
at
back
that
to
point.
motherfucking
There
work,
was some
motherfucker.
fresh pink skin below. There was really no more fresh blood. And my dumbass did not go back in to get it stitched up because any doctor's visits, any hospital visits, anything, that was all attached to my dad's insurance. So eventually he was going to get a bill from the insurance saying, hey, your daughter went to the hospital and had to have something stitched up or glued or whatever. So I was a little bit freaked out about that. I was anticipating that in the oncoming weeks, and I didn't want to have to go back in and have another bill show up. I just didn't want to have to pay for all that. So pay for it in the financial sense as well as paying for it in the angry dad sense, which eventually, of course, because I was a little hooligan, I just fed my dad the same cock and bull story about running with scissors and that I needed to go to the hospital to have the wound glued up. And of course, he didn't believe me, but that was a story I stuck to, so he kind of just dropped it. But I think deep down inside, he knew something was wrong. Okay, that was enough emotional recapping for today. This whole thing eventually did resolve itself, the addiction and everything, eventually. But that wasn't for years after that incident. But I actually feel a lot better. It was really difficult for me to talk about it initially, especially once I got into the meat of the story. But once I got over that hump, I felt a lot better. I'm kind of surprised and also not surprised that I had a physical response to talking about this because I typically don't have physical responses unless I am watching something that has like a syringe drawing blood or something like that, like the opening scene in Pulp Fiction. Like, I can't do that. I sweat, I shake, I feel sick to my stomach. It makes me feel very uncomfortable. So I'm kind of surprised that just talking about it gave me such a response. I guess maybe it's because I was like reliving it, really rehashing it, going through it bit by bit. Who knows? But once that was through, I felt so much better. I just felt like I could breathe, because this has always been a hard thing to talk about, and I've never sat down and really gone through it. Like I said before, it's always just been, oh yeah, this happened. This is what I did, or I tell the alternate story of running or jumping like a monkey on the bed with scissors, because that's believable. Now, the biggest reason I wanted this out there was to disturb you, to make you uncomfortable, because this is certainly a cautionary tale of what not to do. Just don't do drugs. I know you hear it all the time and you see it on dare posters, but it's such a dark existence. It is such a lonely existence. And the only way to fill the void is obviously to do drugs, but also you hang around other people that live lonely lives and have lonely existences, and it's just empty. You get nothing. It is the least productive thing in the world. I mean, it's productive if you want to speed up your demise. That's the only way I could possibly think of it as being productive in any way. It is just damaging. It damages your relationships with your friends and your family. That's what living a life from fix to fix is. Anyway, guys, now that I've depressed you for 20 minutes, thank you guys so much for watching, and thank you so much for your constant support, and thank you so much for listening to me and trying to learn from my mistakes, because that's really the best part of all of this, is that I've grown up, I've looked back at my past, and I've said, God, I was terrible. And I made the choice to go, I'm going to live each day making better choices. And if I slip up on the way, I'm going to try even harder the next day, because that's all we can do. We can own up to our mistakes, and we can make a choice to make better choices. Anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching, and don't forget to stay out of trouble. See you guys later. This video was brought to you in part by viewers like you. If you'd like to support the channel,
my truth is no over till it's over. Break ref, stalemate. Stalemate.
Who's get that running the elbow? Usman can get his right leg out here and go to full mount.
He could, I don't think he is. I think for me, that's a stalemate.
Anyway, it's not my job to do this, but if there's anyone online that wants to hashtag the knockout.
As you probably well know, in 2019, anything and everything is racist. Milk is racist. The OK sign is racist. And the Lion King is racist. Get this, because the hyenas, because they all have Hispanic accents, they're saying this means that the creators of Lion King thinks all Hispanics are evil. And of course, President Trump himself is a racist. Well, we've got Joel Patrick here to talk about how this racist president invited him and a bunch of other black men and women to the White House to have dinner with the president at a reception for National Black History Month. But first, we spend so much time talking about how everything is racist, when in reality, most of those things aren't actually racist. Criticizing little Colin Kaepernick for kneeling on the flag isn't actually racist. It's an acknowledgement of universal truth that the guy just sucks. That statue that reminds liberals of a monkey isn't actually racist. And by the way, if you see a statue of a monkey and you think, hey, that person reminds me of that monkey reminds me of a black person, guess who's the racist? It's you. Now, it turns out there are a lot of things that prove that liberals might be the racist ones. And we're going to go through 9 things that liberals think are terrific that turn out actually could be pretty incredibly racist. Don't believe me? Just swap out the word black for the word white, and then tell me it's not racist. All right, and welcome to the White House Brief. I am your host, John Miller, humble, lovable, and of course, always right. Now remember, we've got a podcast of the show now. You can search for it in iTunes. Please subscribe, rate, and review it. That will help it stand out among all the other garbage in that store and help it stand out so that it charts better. Now, it's one thing for liberals to want diversity. It's another thing to create special privileges for blacks in the name of diversity. I mean, call me crazy, but isn't that racist? Like I said, switch the word from white to black, and you'll see. And here are 9 examples. Numero uno. Black People Meet. Have you guys seen this? It's Black People Meet. It is a dating app. Meet other black singles in your area, it says. And people are like, what? This is just for black people to meet others like them. I don't see what's so wrong about that. Well, can you imagine if they created a website called White People Meet? White people meet, come here to meet other white singles in your area. Don't let those pesky black people clog up your feed while trying to breathe. Filter them out with whitepeoplemeet.com. Whitepeoplemeet.com. Join today. My guess is Al Sharpton would get his pompadour specially pressed just to go protest that website. Now, if you want to meet people who look like you, come from a similar background, that is totally fine. But what is racist is to say that it's okay for black people to do one thing, but it's not okay for whites to do it as well. That is a complete double standard, and that is what is racist. All right, moving on to this one. What about this? Number 2, Cal State LA. When Cal State LA, a university in California, created segregated housing for black people, oh, weird, all of a sudden, separate but equal is okay. It's okay when black people want to do it in the other direction. Not making this up. Quote, a California university is the latest public school of higher education to establish African-American priority housing in response to demands from black students seeking refuge from what they consider insensitive remarks and microaggressions. Oh, a microaggression from their white classmates. You guys want to know what a microaggression is? A microaggression is black people who don't like to be asked, where are you from? Not making this up, you can see this right here on the screen. They don't like to be asked, where are you from? Where were you born? They're like, don't tell me those are normal conversation starters in college. Black people were offended when some people were asking them, where are you from? So apparently they need their own separate housing for that. Can't make it up. Number 3, you know that the left would never put up with historically white colleges. If we had those, there would be outrage. But we have historically black colleges. Are those racist? Well, no, they're not racist, they argue, because they were established before the civil rights during segregation when black people couldn't get into institutions of higher learning. Yeah, well, what happened? Oh, yeah, the Civil Rights Act happened, which was supposed to make it so that this kind of discrimination didn't happen anymore. Well, they don't discriminate against whites, they just admit less of them. Yeah, sounds like discrimination to me. And by the way, try being a white person attending a historically black college and see how welcome you feel by the black people there. I mean, talk about you can't sit with us. If whites treated blacks like that at other universities, you know it would be a national scandal. And speaking of colleges, that brings us to number 4, affirmative action. Yeah, they say we're going to lower our standards for white people. people because they're not as capable. Can you imagine that? I mean, on this one, you don't even need to switch the words around on that one. I mean, this one is just racist on its face. They are literally saying, oh, you black people are so incompetent. What we're going to do is we're going to actually lower our standards for you just to let you in easier because we know you black people can't perform academically as well as whites. I mean, if it's for the disenfranchised, go to Appalachia and tell me there aren't white communities hurting just as bad as black inner city ghettos. In Appalachia, why don't they get a leg up? Because affirmative action is not based on disenfranchisement. It is based on skin color, which essentially means that you're saying to blacks that their inability to perform academically or otherwise, you're saying that inability is biological. Interesting. Moving on to number 5, black superheroes. And yes, I am looking at you, Black Panther. Never mind the fact that, a White Panther would be considered so racist. White Panther from a country of all whites. Hey, I guess maybe that's what MAGA country is, right next to Wakanda. I mean, that would never fly in Hollywood. And interesting how the high and mighty royalty from Wakanda isn't actually interested in the race issues, the actual race issues, plaguing a place like Oakland. Now, T'Challa doesn't even acknowledge them as his people. Now, did I enjoy Black Panther? Absolutely. But it is a racist movie that just parades around like a black film in order to rake in millions. Number 6, all of the black movements, black power, I mean, can you imagine white power? White power? Black Lives Matter? Can you imagine white lives matter? I really don't think that would fly. Of course, Black Lives Matter is based off of the myth that black people are targeted and slain by the cops in alarming numbers. It's a real nice story to push your racist movement. All lives matter. I will say it over and over again. Don't care how much it offends people when I say that. All lives matter. Number 7, black people, for whatever reason, are allowed to have their own magazines. I mean, you guys know Essence magazine, and then there's Black Journal. I mean, speaking of Black Lives Matter, can you imagine how many cities Black Lives Matter would raise to the ground if they ever found out about something called, I don't know, White Journal? I mean, they'd say this is totally racist. Can you believe they have White Journal, White Essence, talking about 19 bold white thinkers and unsung heroes and instructing people to buy white, how to buy from white business owners? Now, these aren't actual magazines, and we're not condoning this, but these are actual things taken from black magazines that we just replaced the word white with to show how, in reality, it would be construed as racist if anyone ever made these magazines. But black magazines are allowed. All right, number 8. What about statements like white men can't jump, white people can't dance? Think about it. What if you made a movie called Black Men Can't Spell or Asian Women Can't Drive? You think there would be outrage there? And last but not least, Black History Month. Now, I have a piece written about this, little controversial, got a little bit of controversy, but think about it this way. If whites tried to get their own History Month, something tells me the black community would have a bit of a problem with that. So if you want to talk about racism, what about all these things that you know would be met with outrage? There would be universal scorn if any of these things were actually a thing. And if it were the other way around, if you switch the word black for white, there would be outrage. Now, I get it. I understand the argument that black people should enjoy special privileges because they've suffered from 230 years plus of indecency and injustice in this country, and they need reparations. I mean, Cory Booker, Elizabeth Warren, they're talking about reparations for blacks. My question is, when are we going to get over it? When? Ever? I mean, we've had a black president, worst president ever, by the way, at least in modern history. I mean, he's up there with Woodrow Wilson and FDR in terms of a dictatorial pox on democracy. But nevertheless, we had a black president. I mean, that's huge. Look at the Forbes list. Black people everywhere. In every profession, you have blacks thriving and succeeding. I mean, they're doing so well, Jussie Smollett had to make up his oppression. If you're black in America, you can really do anything. And right now, more than ever, because employers, guess what? Employers are dying to hire minorities. Employers are looking for diversity. I mean, diversity is all the rage in the workplace right now. So it advantages blacks. Black folks take advantage of that and get that job that you want because you know that this diversity is all the rage. It's not going to last forever. All right, so I'm here with Joel Patrick, Black redneck, legendary black redneck. You're an arborist as well, Instagram extraordinaire. You do it all.
Well, I wouldn't go that far. I dabble.
You dabble in a bit of everything. Now, you were at the White House yesterday for Black History Month, which I just crapped on in this monologue. But I mean, it's funny because the president gets a bad rap for being racist. He invited all of these people to the White House, except us, to enjoy, a reception. Can you tell us about it and what happened during it?
So actually, it was actually really incredible. We walked in and we got to meet a lot of other well-known African Americans.
Yeah.
We shouldn't use the term Black Americans.
Well, this is the TV industry where we only have a little bit of time, so we don't have time to say all those syllables.
And it was really crazy because I tweeted, look at this spread of food. I said, not a hamburger in sight. And it was kind of making fun of it because I think the main thing is everyone that was there, we couldn't have cared less what the food was. The food was great,
right,
by the way, but we didn't care what the food was. We were glad to be in the White House with the President of the United States. And I think the fact that he had a whole bunch of black people in the White House, and the other thing is a lot of people don't know this, there's a lot of black people that work in the White House, a lot of black Secret Service agents, there's more than 13% of them are black.
That is shocking.
Yeah.
I've been told that no black people work at the White House. So.
No, there's tons of black people. Black Secret Service agents, black military service members that are in there working. And the president was so excited. And I talked to the staffers, they said he was more excited about the crowd of people that was in that room than he is ever for like a press conference. So it was clear that he had love for the people that were in the room. It was so clear.
So that always happens when the Turning Point USA had the Young Black Leadership Summit, and he filled the East Room with 400 young black students, activists. I mean, he was lit up there too. I mean, every time he gets to interact with the black crowd that, support him and his agenda, I mean, you can see it. It ignites him. I mean, he loves it.
It's because we understand his agenda. And
right.
I think if more black people understood his agenda, then they would support it. Because realistically, what is not to love about the lowest black unemployment ever?
Well, the Democrats, they sat for that. So you might have to ask them what's so bad about that.
I'm pretty sure Trump could cure cancer at this point, and they'd be like, we want our cancer back.
I want to ask you, what was it like? We have the invitation that you received from the White House. It says, the President and Mrs. Trump request the pleasure of your company at a reception in honor of National African American History Month to be held at the White House on Thursday, February 24th, 2019 at 5 o'clock. I mean, when you receive an invitation from the President of the United States in your inbox, that's got to be a surreal moment.
It was a surreal moment, and it was like, you don't deserve this. You're like, wow, like, I got invited. Like, I'm just like, a social media personality with, like, not a lot of followers, and, they cared to invite me. And then, like, I was wearing like an American flag tuxedo, and I waved at the president, and he waved back at me, and I was
That's
like,
awesome.
He saw my face, and it was super exciting.
That's awesome. I'm surprised you should have worn the hoodie, although I guess you got to suit up.
No, yeah, we had to suit up. I wore a jersey last time, but they weren't.
They didn't like that? Did you wear the beanie?
I did.
You wore the beanie. Now, our theme for the show is black privilege, and as someone in the office place, I remember when I was applying for jobs, they would come up to me and they'd say, we love you, we want minorities, we want diversity. For a lot of people, if you're qualified and if you work hard and do your job, you can really, it benefits you in many circumstances. And, you hear a lot of people complain, oh, they didn't hire me because I was black. I think you've witnessed the exact opposite. You've been in situations where they hire you because you're black.
Exactly. I own a tree removal company, and I'll pull up to somebody's house in my truck, and I'll get out of the truck, and I'll start talking with them, and they'll hire me. And I feel like sometimes people hire me even if my prices were higher than somebody else's because I was black and they don't want to be racist. So black privilege is a thing. I get invited to events all the time. I get asked to come to things that, like, there's no way my qualifications qualify me to be there. But I get invited.
I'm trying to say you can say, oh, you have to be qualified. But I think you undersell yourself. You are qualified.
There are people in this world looking to take advantage of others, whether they are classified as narcissistic, sociopathic, compulsive, or pathological.
What's up, Tim Sykes, Millionaire Mentor Trader, here with $10,000. A lot of you think you need $10,000.
Central authority, entity, server, you name it. They are completely their own thing, which means you don't have to go through a bank in order to process a transaction. Now, this is an important aspect that I'll get back to later. And you might be saying to yourself, well, wait, if there's no central authority to run the system, how are transactions maintained and verified? How is this crypto stuff even valuable? Where does the supply of it even come from? Well, now let's go to what cryptocurrencies are at their most basic technological level. And in my explanation of cryptocurrency, I'll be using Bitcoin as the main example. Hopefully you've all at least heard of Bitcoin by now. I can't imagine anyone not hearing about Bitcoin after its recent public craze. Everyone's talking about Bitcoin. My grandpa's talking about Bitcoin. So, we start with this thing called the blockchain. The blockchain is a public ledger of all transactions that have ever occurred on the Bitcoin peer-to-peer network. It's just one long record book, dating all the way back to when the first Bitcoins were created in January 2009. And so long as transactions continue to be made with Bitcoin, the ledger will continue to grow and build on itself. Hence the reason why we call it a chain. Since this ledger is made public to everyone and will continue to have its information distributed and digitally synchronized all across the world, it will always share the same information on it. So me sending one Bitcoin to my friend is a transaction that is publicly recorded on this blockchain ledger. And when that transaction takes place, everyone who does have a copy of the ledger will be notified of an incoming transaction taking place on the Bitcoin network, and will then work to verify that the transactions taking place are valid and real. These people who keep track of the ledger are also known as miners. Why? Well, we need to get deeper into what the process of verifying transactions looks like. In order for a transaction to even occur in the first place, you need to have a digital wallet on the Bitcoin network. This wallet will include two things, a private key and a public key. The very existence of these two keys is crucial to the whole cryptographic nature of cryptocurrencies. In order for your transactions to be securely encrypted and be authentic, they need to have these two keys involved. So say you want to send a transaction to someone that says, I send 20 Bitcoins to Jimmy. Well, in order for that message to be true, it needs to be digitally signed by my private key, which basically functions as your own personal identifier, or your digital signature. So only your own private key is able to create a new message. Now, once you've signed your message and are ready to send it off to Jimmy, it gets sent to the Bitcoin network with your public key. The public key acts as a verifying mechanism, which essentially confirms that your specific message was indeed marked by your digital signature, or your private key, and that it is associated with the public key that you have sent off along with your transaction. Now here's where we get into the whole mining aspect of this process. Once your transaction is sent off into the Bitcoin network, and is subsequently announced to all the people who are maintaining the blockchain ledger, these miners are now tasked with the fun job of having to use computational algorithms in order to verify the validity of each individual transaction. This process basically ensures that no fraudulent transactions are taking place, and is done through a process called a cryptographic hash function. More specifically, the Pt.2 hash function. Now, I will not be going into the details of what that looks like, because look at this. But this process essentially means that your computer will be trying to guess and check 2 to the 256 computational algorithms in order to get the right answer. The probability of being able to guess the correct input is 1 in 115 quadrillion. 1 in 115 quadrillion. Yeah, there's a reason why these cryptographic hash functions are trusted in so many of our modern security systems. The system of solving cryptographic hash functions is what helps to prevent what's called double spending, where someone tries to spend the same Bitcoin twice. But through this process of essentially solving math problems, the miners are able to confirm a transaction, which will then be added onto the blockchain ledger. Now, this process of verifying is by no means an easy task, nor is it a cheap one. People will spend hundreds of thousands of dollars creating these mining rigs and jacking up their electric bills to enormous heights just so they can be the first ones to verify that transaction and add on to the blockchain. But why? Why buy all these graphics cards and blow out your electric bills for this? Well, for your work in adding on to the blockchain and successfully verifying the transactions that occur on the Bitcoin network, you get rewarded in receiving some brand new Bitcoins straight into your digital wallet. And as of today, for successfully adding onto the blockchain, you will be rewarded with 12.5 Bitcoins. You know how much one Bitcoin is worth at the time of recording this video? $8,626. Hell yeah. This is why the entire blockchain confirmation process is called mining. The analogy being that you're mining for new Bitcoins, and that mining takes work, computational work. So this is where we get our gold mining analogy from. And here's why people are spending thousands of dollars on this kind of machinery. Because it's not just a matter of you solving a hash function. You need to be the first to solve that hash function and create the new block, because that's how you get paid. And that's why there's this race to build the biggest and most powerful mining rig out there, so you can be the first to solve those damn algorithms and get your hands on some of that sweet digital gold. But that 12.5 reward number won't stay like that forever. See, the Bitcoin network is built to have its reward rate about every 4 years. This is to keep up with inflation rates throughout time and to limit the total number of Bitcoins that can ever be created. So this also means that the total number of Bitcoins that can ever be in circulation is 21 million. Now, one of the main arguments made about this is that it will lower the revenue that miners receive as time goes by. However, if the supply of new Bitcoins created decreases every 4 years or so, then theoretically the demand for Bitcoin will also increase, which should keep the reward for receiving Bitcoins at a good cost-benefit ratio. But that's Bitcoin for you. But why is it even valuable? Where does it get its intrinsic value from? Well, an easy answer to that is just the basic rules of supply and demand. The market gives it its value, and others will also say that it's because of the promising technology and cryptographic features that cryptocurrencies offer. And that's true as well, though there are objectively much better cryptocurrencies out there than Bitcoin, like Litecoin, which can process transactions much faster than Bitcoin, or Monero, which is even faster than that, or Ripple, which is even faster. Right now, though, there's just a lot of hype surrounding cryptocurrencies, which is kind of influencing the price of these coins. I mean, honestly, most people I know, and most people on the internet, just like to spout about how this is gonna be the next Bitcoin, buy, whoa! And I think it'd be better if a lot of that would just die down, because it creates the impression of crypto being some kind of get-rich-quick scheme. Now, that's not to say that these coins are all useless or anything, but you'll want to make sure to see which coins actually have the best opportunity at being widely adopted and that hold some genuine utility. I'd recommend reading the white papers of any new coin you look at. That's generally where you'll get the fundamentals on any coins. And if you're really serious about getting into the whole crypto trading business and want to know more about certain functions of the crypto world and how to get started in all of it, there are plenty of YouTubers and news articles out there that are doing their best to inform people on this topic. Now, aside from all the rabid hype surrounding cryptocurrencies in general, there are those out there that really do believe in the potential of this technology and what it could mean for the future of financial exchange and worldwide commerce. One of the basic underlying premises of cryptocurrencies are that they'll do away with banks completely. That's huge. Personally, I'm not so sure that that'll be the case, but that idea has definitely made some banks keep an eye on crypto. But beyond banks, cryptocurrencies also mean, well, a universal currency. And this can be very good for those living in underdeveloped nations, or shithole dictatorships, whose currencies are either inflated to all hell or made completely worthless, and the inhabitants of such countries have no other way of going about basic commerce but to use that worthless currency. And this already seems to be taking place in underdeveloped African nations like Zimbabwe, Nigeria, and South Africa, whose local traders have started to open up to the idea of cryptocurrencies. And this will especially be interesting to see how it turns out in these kinds of countries, because this could very well mean real potential growth and economic success. It's not like it can get any worse in some of these places than it is now. Even a place like Venezuela is adopting cryptocurrency, and that place seriously needs it. That'll be one hell of a way to go around your socialist dictator's economic boot. Hang in there, people. And at the end of the day, despite its still current volatile and uncertain nature, cryptocurrencies do have some serious worldwide political implications. And I'm down with that. So now some of you might be asking, hey Juice Boy, do you invest in cryptocurrencies? And the answer to that is, you bet your ass I do. I'm into all this shit. Bitcoin, Litecoin, altcoins, you name it. Except not the meme coins, or shit coins as they're commonly called. Yeah, let's all go out and buy some of that pot coin, or dope coin. Yeah, sure. It's more than just a currency. It's an experience. Or how about that Fab coin? Yeah, all you masturbators out there, they've got the coin just for you. They're capitalizing on that porn industry, damn it. Look at some of these features, guys. They've got privacy and discretion, fraud prevention, and low processing fees. I'm not making this shit up, dudes. We need our Fab coins. Join the fappening. Hey, Japan, I've got some sex coin for you. Sounds like you guys need it. Or how about this one? Fuck token. Fuck yeah. It's the social currency that aims to help everyone around the world give a fuck. Hey, it looks like there is an actual shitcoin out there. Shitcoin.io. Shit has been dumped. Spread it far and wide. Shitcoin.me. Smart. Harnessed. Interconnected. Turbulent. Yeah, you forgot stinks. Well, shit, guys. You've heard it right there. Shitcoins are the way to go. Oh, and on a side note, I am not a financial advisor, nor am I purporting to be one. So don't listen to any investment advice from me. Seriously. That's it for this episode. This has been Political Juice. Thanks for watching.
has probably done in a long time, and seeing YouTubers go into Marine Corps training has been one of the best videos I've been able to watch in a while. Here's why. Stay tuned. What is up, guys? You're tuning in to Nikki MGTV for another military video for all your military video needs. As always, you can hit me up on Instagram, Snapchat, or daily comments below if you have questions. But as always, let's roll right to the topic, and that is the Marines have sponsored videos with a couple big YouTubers. Michelle Corey, I'll put the other names down here because I just watched her video. And if you want to watch that, link down below. I'm just going to cover the highlights. I am a Navy corpsman. I'm not a U.S. Marine. I have worked at the MCRD for a little bit, and I've been around that, been around DIs and stuff like that. I've definitely seen what Marines go through. Being a corpsman, you're out there, you see Marines coming in from the crucible and things like that. You understand what evolutions and grass week and all this other stuff that they're required to do. So I understand contextually. I've been around that community to understand a little bit. Obviously, not a Marine, not claiming to be one, not trying to be one, because I know some people like to say I'm envious of Marines. I'm not. I like being a Navy corpsman. But let's get to the video highlights. I don't want to do anything because copyright, so I will show you highlights. Yes, if you don't watch the whole video, watch it down below.
I do all of this to get a better understanding of what thousands of men and women every year go through for the Marines and our military in general. I get to be joined by 3 other YouTubers this week: Lucas Gomez, Jesse LaFleur, and Caleb City.
I think the authenticity of even the uniforms of Michelle, she literally is in the getup of what a Marine recruit is going to look like. She even has a little name tape on the side. They don't even sew it on or anything because obviously you do not use your name. There's no I in Marine Corps boot camp. It is this recruit. Every time that I've dealt with recruits, they never refer to themselves as I. So you do not use your name. There's no I in getup of what a Marine.
Caleb City.
I think the
every year go through for the Marines and our military in general. I get to be joined by 3 other YouTubers this week: Lucas Gomez, Jesse LaFleur, and Caleb City.
I think the authenticity of even the uniforms of Michelle, she literally is in the getup of what a Marine recruit is going to look like. She even has a little name tape on the side. They don't even sew it on or anything because obviously you do not use your name. There's no I in Marine Corps boot camp. It is this recruit. Every time that I've dealt with recruits, they never refer to themselves as I. It's this recruit.
And come on the bus and kick our asses on the bus.
All of you look at me now! Scream, I sir!
I sir!
Get on my butt! You right now! I'm on Marine Corps Recruit Depot, Parris Island, South Carolina. And you not just like your first step toward becoming a member of the world's finest body force, the United States Marine Corps.
They get to go on the bus. They get to stay on the yellow footprints. My only qualms with this part of the video is she's not having the experience of the middle of the night screaming, you know what I mean? And I understand it's obviously an isolated group, which I get, but there is a sense of like the unknown, right? Like when you are going there to really join the Marine Corps, you have that anxiety of just like, there's no getting out of this. I'm going to pass this whether my bones break, I bleed, I cry, whatever else. And so that also comes with you prepping for boot camp through your recruiter, going through that process, taking the ASVAB, and also going there very late at night. You don't realize how fatigue can actually wear you down and treat every situation differently when someone's tired. People think they act very differently. You'll show the true colors of people that internalize and all these other factors of how they compartmentalize their feelings and moods. So yes, my only qualms are that it's not at night.
It was massive information overload. They were screaming at the top of their lungs at us, ordering us to perform repetitive tests. At first I didn't really understand the point of this, but then it occurred to me, it's really important to know how to listen and execute quickly in a high-stress situation.
Now, I like how she picked up on the authenticity of being ordered to do the most minuscule task. You know, obviously, they're not real recruits, but they get the idea of the minuscule task of look up, look down, you know, put your shirt on, take it off. The immediate obedience to commands, like that's one thing that is key in boot camp. Don't question it, I need you to do this, because in a real wartime situation, you're going to need that. And obviously, you can see she's starting to think of this in the mindset as a Marine, not as a civilian, but as what it actually takes to be a service member. And you're going to do a lot of really dumb tasks, especially in Marine Corps boot camp. There's some tasks everywhere, but my favorite one that I saw drill instructors do was they would go like this: recruit, get out of my face, and then they'd be like, go out back, go out. Hurts my throat.
Everything to connect that top one?
Yes or no? No, ma'am.
Then why would you do that little silly? You want me to fix you, you little girl?
No, ma'am.
You little girl?
No, ma'am.
How old are you?
26, ma'am.
26! But I gotta fix you, right?
No, ma'am.
I love this drill instructor that corrects her in regards to her uniform, like wearing it, how to wear it. You guys are gonna mess up, obviously. You could look up how to wear everything, but realistically, you guys probably aren't gonna do that. You're gonna get there, follow instructions how you're told, and just go with it. And honestly, that's what I would suggest. Boot camp, you don't really need too much preparation. Just go with it. If you pay for it, it's because you probably didn't listen. But yeah, Michelle learns firsthand the attention to detail of a uniform, the regulation of what the Marine Corps expects. Trust me, if you go into some kind of exchange on base, or you're walking on base, and you're not wearing what you're supposed to, someone's going to call you out and correct you. If you're out of uniform, people notice it because we are so militant in the way that we examine people. Like, we know how to read it and what's right and what's wrong instantly, where a lot of people that are civilians won't understand that.
And they told me to climb up the A-frame, and that was terrifying. Will I climb back down after? How do I?
You haven't made it that far yet. You have to do it.
What if I fall?
You're not gonna fall.
Scared of my arm strength.
You don't need
I'm sorry.
Just take one more step. Stop thinking about it. Just take one more step.
To grab a rope and slide down it? Hell no. For some reason, the instructors had more confidence in me than I had in myself, and that really got me through it. I'm really, really glad I got through it. And
Now, Michelle has to climb down this rope on the A-frame. I think that this is an important lesson here for anybody that's joined the military, or even Michelle. She does a really good job because I see it as like two pieces of the puzzle to get a whole picture. So she's able to climb up the rope originally at some other station and go back down, right? Then she has to go from the top of this A-frame, jump on a rope, and then go down. So it's like putting two pieces together and trusting yourself, realizing that we have a lot of irrational fears. The military is one of those things that you are going to realize it's okay to fail, or you may fail, but it's irrational a lot of times because you haven't tried it, you haven't committed to it. So you learn what commitment actually means. And I think that's a really valuable lesson, which
I just fired M16. I don't know how I feel about guns and just that whole thing in general. I feel like I've always had this perception of guns are really scary.
There you go.
Yeah! It's actually really fun, but it felt empowering to be able to have control over it and understand what I was doing.
This part, Michelle breaks my mold of what I think of her. I guess guilty by association, and me being naive. I'm going to be honest with you. She is a prior BuzzFeed person or employee, and she would make videos. And obviously, most people that think of BuzzFeed are thinking leftist. I'm not super right or left. This is not politically agenda-based, but I could see the same turn in myself because I did not touch weapons. I've never shot guns or weapons before I even joined the military. And then a lot of times it can be intimidating. So if you're coming in, you've never shot a weapon, and you're like Michelle, probably never touched one ever, you know anyone that had one, anything like that, I just realized very fast that it was a tool, and you can see that in her interactions with dealing with the weapon. And again, she reinforces that she is in her mind a Marine, and you see that. Even though this is for a video, I feel like she kind of takes on that role as she thinks that way.
Then when the rope is not immediately fire in my eyes, down my throat. It smells like fireworks and a barbecue and hell all at the same.
Again?
time. And as I'm preparing and like undoing the straps, the seal breaks again and my whole mask floods. I can't see or do anything. I'm like wavering around the room and I collapse immediately.
Whoa, the gas chamber. Yeah, that one, it's a doozy, right, Michelle? She did not clear her mask properly, and if you're in Marine Corps boot camp, you would have to do it again, or at least from our training, you had to redo it again if you didn't do it properly. You have to know how to clear a mask, and this is for CBR knee attacks, and I love seeing anybody come out of any gas chamber, because honestly, no matter how pretty you are with your blonde hair, blue eyes, whatever you got rocking, you're gonna come out looking ugly. You got snot coming down your nose, drool coming out of your mouth, and if you're sick like I was at boot camp, I was literally hacking out like yellow snot from my nose, my mouth, like I just couldn't stop coughing, but it cleared my lungs pretty good.
Went through some shit today.
Probably not gonna be here tomorrow.
Do not leave us.
Yeah, sorry.
And we are one person down today. Caleb decided to go home.
I was actually talking to Caleb yesterday, and he told me he wasn't coming back today, and I thought he was joking, but it turns out he was dead serious.
Oh, we had that option? We're allowed to do that?
So like I said, this includes more YouTubers, right? But this guy quits after one day, and you're not even really into boot camp. I didn't understand it. You could say as a person that's voluntarily being there as not a recruit that, hey, I'm going to sit this one out. I don't want to do this. I'm uncomfortable. If just because you don't want to look like a tough guy or something, you know. I think that this honestly tells a big determining factor, and that is heart. And I'm not saying Michelle's a weak person. I'm saying that Michelle was able to make it because she put heart and effort to it. This was only a few days where this guy gave up after the first day. Credit for coming out. Always give people a round of applause for anyone that at least tries to come to the show. But I'm telling you this right now, heart is what's going to win at the end of the day.
The best way to describe the physical training this morning was primal.
Two more! Pull! One more! Get up on the bar!
Hi, sir. Doing pull-ups, push-ups, squats. They were constantly on us. Feels like a primal shock to your entire system mentally and physically.
From my experience in the military, 10 years so far, it has literally been calisthenics. Any of these types of boot camp type trainings, they're calisthenics. Bunch of running, jumping, burpees, whatever else you can think of. It is just insane. So it's a lot of yelling, and they're getting in your face, trying to have you push yourself. And what I love about it is I think a lot of people that are going to boot camp can pass their fitness test right now and do pretty well. The thing about it is they don't have the mental toughness yet to push past what is good pain versus actual I'm hurt pain. If you guys know what I'm talking about, you'll know there's two differences between those different types of pains.
Let's go, stop.
Get the chicken wing. I'll kick your leg up.
Let's go, hurry up. Oh, get up, go, keep going.
I'm in.
Stop.
An inch will do. Just keep pulling.
I think I can do this. I start 3.
Alright, towards the end of the video, she's doing the O course, and the O course is not easy. It took me 10 years until I finally actually got to run one or understand it, because obviously corpsmen, we go through training to be with the Marines, and it's not easy. I think a lot of people don't understand. It's easy if you've done it and you've trained for it, right? But my first go around on it, it wasn't easy in regards to that and getting used to what to expect and things like that. But it's definitely not an easy course if it's your first time or you haven't been through any kind of physical conditioning and cannot climb the rope, which I will say, sadly, that was the same thing as me. I got up half the rope and I was just exhausted. I don't know what it was, but I couldn't get up. I've got up plenty of ropes before, but the same situation. I'm not sure what happened there, but eventually, just like they made her do in the video, they make her do burpees and to accommodate for her not be able to do the task. Eventually, you're like, I'd rather do the task than the burpees because the burpees are more labor intensive. You probably give 1,000,000% to get over whatever obstacle is there, just because it's easier than burpees typically.
Michelle. I'm in. That hair, it better be fixed tomorrow. Would you go out looking like that?
No, ma'am.
No, right? Exactly the same thing here.
I'm in.
So, you got a long time in this job. So you eat your food, and you might want to go to the head and figure something out.
I'm in.
Point of the video, Michelle gets yelled at again. I don't know why it took so long for someone to correct her on her hair. It's in the beginning of the video as well as at this point where her hair is not Marine Corps rigs. I respect females a lot for how much they have to deal with to get their hair in the bun. Many people that are not in the military don't understand this. They have what they call flyaways, like your baby hairs, right? And normally people are like, yeah, put up in a bun, but the Marine Corps is like so attention to detail. It is slick back, like literally gel upon gel, whatever else they use. It's pretty burdensome for a lot of people to put their hair on every day. I love the true authenticity of this, and then like small details like this. I don't know if Michelle understands that authenticity comes through in the video, but I'm glad at least the drill instructors kept that authenticity in their interactions with her.
Who are at the very end of their training. For the past 54 hours, they have been doing pretty much all of the events that you have seen us do so far, with maybe 2 or 3 hours of sleep, the very last 3 miles of the Crucible hike. At the end, recruits will receive the Eagle, Globe, and Anchor and be called Marines for the first time. If I hadn't gone through the training over the past few days, I don't think I would have been able to fully appreciate the importance of this moment.
For the last part of this video, they have them do a 3-mile ruck as these recruits are finishing up the Crucible to receive their EGA. 3 miles is really not that long in regards to hikes. The Marine Corps, you can get up past 20 miles if you're really prepping your guys and everything's going through as far as training goes. So it can get up there in the mileage, just to give a full disclaimer. But yes, they hump it, and obviously 3 miles isn't a lot, but it shows kind of that beginning of the just getting uniforms all the way to the end where they are getting the EGA. Well, they don't, but this is what I'm going to say. The Marine Corps, whoever the command was, besides that, I was so glad because as I was watching it, I was like, I hope they don't get an EGA. It's not because I've earned it at all, but I know what it means for Marines to get the EGA. I don't even have an EGA on my cover for my MARPAS because I haven't earned it. There's other parts of the uniform that have it, but for our cover, we're not authorized to wear a EGA cover. Definitely understand, no one wants to take that away from Marines because they've gone through 13 weeks of hell to do that. So definitely very tasteful. They got a little coin, I think it's some kind of command coin, to kind of show the initiation to, or their respect for them coming out to actually participate. So shout out to Michelle. If you haven't seen her, you're living under a rock. But as far as a military member that's been in the military for 10.5 years, I can tell you guys this is very authentic. As much as it's the highlights, I understand that, but I'm very proud of the production and the representation of the military, and obviously super tasteful. And I feel like she goes above and beyond for the challenges, and just respect and kudos. So tell me what you guys thought. Did you guys think that it was a good video? Did you down in the comments below? But as always, guys, if you guys do have questions about the military, you can always hit me up on Instagram, Snapchat, or down in the comments below. I love you guys.
Based on the title, you probably think I'm going to talk about insane budget tuners, but you'd be horribly wrong. We're talking about full-blown Super Saiyan-ass transformations with the makeover these cars are capable of receiving. I'm pretty sure the information in this video probably qualifies as some kind of real-life cheat code. Wait, Blade Angel, I can hear my dear subscribers saying, how come this video has 6 instead of 5? Well, that's because a lot of these cars in this list are going to be repeats from my videos before. But don't worry, I made sure to add a few new entries, so you can stay tuned. I figured for the sake of educating the youngling high schoolers that I would compile these cars together in this list. So with a little patience and planning, you can not only have a car to get you through high school and college, but also as a future investment. With that said, let's get started. Here are 6 cheap high school cars that can become insane. This first entry is for my European viewers. You can find a used BMW Z3 for as low as 3,000 euros. With an additional 6,295 euros, you can transform it into a Bertini GT25. If you aren't able to assemble your own, Bertini offers a service for 9,295 euros where you can simply drive in your Z3 and let professional builders work on it, so that you can drive away in a GT25. The finished product is a highly stylized roadster that adds a new breath of life into the once boring Z3. Still here? Good. I purposely threw out a boring entry first because I wanted to see how many impatient younglings would have just stopped watching there. After all, I said patience was important. So if you're still here, what if I told you that you can have a supercar by the time you graduate from college? That's not an over-exaggeration because if you play your cards right like my brother did, you can have the money saved to purchase a new car for $40,000. Except, he was a scrub lord and used that money to buy a 2017 Camaro SS. But trust me, this entry's much cooler than that. Do you remember Joker's car from the movie Suicide Squad? Of course you don't. That movie had a terrible reception. Anyways, that aside, did you know that car was actually a used Infiniti G35 Coupe wide-body kit? You can find a used Infiniti G35 Coupe anywhere from $7,000 to $10,000. With that said, the kit itself is from a company called Faber, and since I'm too lazy to go into specifics about pricing and specifications here, I'll just link you to a video where I did. A finished running model can be obtained for as low as $36,720. So, put that catalog filled with new sports cars away and buy this bastard instead. What's cooler than a Shelby Cobra? That was a trick question because the answer is fucking nothing. For the high schooler with more refined taste for the classics, you should pick up a 2000 to 2004 Ford Mustang GT for around $4,000 to $8,000. Later down the line, you can turn it into a Shelby Cobra with the help of a kit from Factory 5 that costs $19,990. This kit is perhaps the most well-designed Shelby Cobra replica on the market. Build times are estimated to be anywhere from 200 to 400 labor hours, depending on expertise. But don't be frightened if you don't know jack shit about cars, because this kit is the prime choice for a lot of first-time builders. There is an extensive community of builders for this car and many forums that you can visit and seek help before, during, and after your build is done. For all my UK viewers, do you want a Ferrari but can't afford one? Well, don't worry, because DNA Automotive has got you covered. First, get your hands on a 2002 Toyota MR2 Spider for around 1,500 pounds to 5,000 pounds and pick up either a 360 or 430 kit from DNA Automotive. Yes, that's actually how the kits are spelled. Haha, very funny DNA Automotive. Anyways, finished builds are said to cost anywhere from 25,000 to 30,000 pounds, depending on what you feel satisfied with. I'm not saying you have to engine swap it, but you should probably engine swap it. After all, it'd be a shame if people saw your Ferrari losing a stoplight drag to Turbo Miata. What's cooler than a street legal go-kart? Fucking no. Oh wait, hold on a second. Fuck! I already did that bit. You can find a used 2002 and 2007 Subaru Impreza for about $5,000, and with an additional $10,000 to $12,000, you can turn it into either the Factory 5 818, 818R, or 818 Coupe. Regardless of which model you pick, you're going to get a complete track demon that will put all the Miata track day bros to shame. This mid-engine track racer only weighs 818 kilograms, hence its name. What's that in pounds, Blade Angel? What? Why are you asking me? Are you telling me that today's modern education system has failed to teach you how to convert kilogram to pounds in your head? It's around 1,800 pounds, by the way. I'm just going to move on to the final entry and stop being such an asshole. This final entry is for the more ambitious high schooler. You know, if you're a really hard worker, or if you've got loaded parents and you're their delicate trust fund baby. Anyways, the used fixed roof Corvette C5 can go anywhere from $11,000 to $24,000, depending on year and model. I personally recommend the C5 Z06 since that will give you a mighty LS6, and that's just a lot more to work with when it comes to using this car to make the Factory 5 GTM. Bladed, are you sponsored by Factory 5 or something? What? Hell no. I wish I was, though. They just so happen to make really good kit cars, and I just so happen to be the Crown King automotive channel for anything obscure or kit related. With that said, the F5 GTM kit costs $24,990. With that price, you'll get a car that weighs less than 2,400 pounds finished, and when using the C5 Z06 as its donor, that you begged mom and dad to buy, I mean that you worked hard to buy, it can pull a 0 to 60 time in 3.2 seconds, and even using the stock Z06 brakes, it can stop from 100 to 0 miles an hour in 111 feet. If you build it yourself, the finished price can be as low as $48,000, but if you aren't willing to build it yourself, you can always contact professional builders, but expect the price to go up to at least $6,000 to $8,000 in that case. So, how about killing two birds with one stone and taking mechanical engineering when you get into college so you can build one yourself instead? Just kidding. Please don't take future education advice from some random YouTuber. I mean, even though I'm an RA, I'm supposedly supposed to be able to help students with academics and future planning and shit, but if only that was the kind of dorm I was assigned to. Out of all seriousness, I hope you found a new dream car or something to pursue as you charge headfirst to that bright future of yours. I'm not being sarcastic, I'm being dead serious. You, the generic high schooler watching this video, are the future fledglings of the car enthusiast community, so press onwards. Even if you find yourself changing your mind, all of these cars on the list are respectable and enjoyable in their own right. So even if you don't go full Super Saiyan and reach their final form, you still got yourself a pretty capable car. Like this video and share it with your friends. Even the fucking normies don't know shit about cars. Maybe this will sway their heart a little bit. If you enjoy semi-daily uploads about supercars or other obscure shit, then subscribe to my channel. Blade Angel out.
This new day looks nothing like yesterday. Trails are covered.
Alright.
Paths aren't what they used to be. Roads nowhere to be found. And it's exactly
Dab!